Hello and welcome everybody, it's Karen. Thanks for stopping by. I've got a double accordion fold card to share with you today. Now I have to apologize, I'm using the Otter Variety 2 stamp set again. I'm new to Whimsy Stamps and I just don't happen to have a lot of their stamps and dies yet, so I'm using what I've got. But these otters are so cute, how could you not want to make more than one card with them, is how I feel. And I'm also going to apologize for making that ocean out of acetate again. I love that look, but you may not. And so where I've done it with the acetate, you could easily put card in there. So you can see here, this is quite a springy card. It will not stay together. You can see here it wants to just spring apart and stand up properly. So definitely I think a belly band is required for this one. So to make this card, I'm going to start with two pieces of cardstock. One is 5.5 inches tall by 8 inches, and I'm going to score that one right down the middle at 4 inches. And then the second piece is 5.5 inches tall by 8.5 inches wide. And this one will score at 4 inches and 8 inches. So that will give us a little 1/2 inch flap on the right there that we can now fold over and give it a good crease. And then I'm going to put some glue on that. You could use double-sided tape, whatever you've got. And we're going to put these two sections together. Now I just prefer to do it this way, where I lay one on top of the other and butt it right up into the fold line, because I feel like that way I can make sure the side edges are nice and straight. So I'm just lining up the left and right edges there and pushing it up into the fold, and when I've got it there, I'll just fold the flap over top. And so now we're going to have this super wide card that I'm going to mat and layer. So the blue card, I just trimmed that down by 1/4 inch on the width and the length, and the same again on the white, so that I had the mats and layers there. And I've matted and layered the front, the 4 insides, and the back. And on the inside, I've just inked in a little bit of a sky. You could easily use a stencil for that. But now I'm going to make the wave section, and I'm using this 8mm acetate. I got this one off Amazon. I'll see if I can link to it. And I'm just using a variety of blue inks to create those inked up pieces of acetate. I've trimmed these down to be 2.5 inches wide, and I just fussy cut out that wavy border. So one of these is 2.5 inches tall by 9.5, and the other, this one here, is 2.5 tall by 9 inches. Now on this 9-inch piece, we're going to score it at 3.5 inches and 6.25 inches. And I'm scoring that on the inky side actually. I don't know that it matters. It might be easier to score on the other side because this kind of stuck a little bit. Now on the 9.5 inch one, I just scored it there at 1/2 inch, and we'll score again at 3.25 inches and at 6 inches. So that's going to give us the whole inside section. That 1/2 inch there, we're going to put some red line tape on it. And I've got that tape on the non-inked side, so the shiny side is facing up. And I'm just going to line up the end of that smaller section with the fold line on the one below. Just trying to keep the ends nice and straight. And then I gave that a good burnish. And now we're going to accordion fold this. So the first fold is a valley fold. So I'm really watching that straight edge. That's the only edge I feel like you have to really watch, because the waves aren't going to line up anyway. But I am trying to make sure that that straight edge at the bottom is nice and straight. Now I'm just showing you here that the first and last sections are different lengths, and I did that because I wanted this to stretch right across that 3.5 inch wide white matted layer. The next pieces are a shorter distance or width. So that's why. So here I am accordion folding again, so now it's a mountain fold, and again just really watching that straight edge, trying to keep it straight. The acetate tends to wiggle a little bit, so you have to really hold it firmly and give it a good crease. And again now in the opposite direction. So just back and forth, accordion folding this and lining everything up before you burnish it, and you'll be good. So now you should have something that looks like this, and that is going to go right across all those sections there at the bottom. Now you'll need a die. I chose a square die, and I believe my die was 2 3/4 inches square. And I just did that. I wanted it to be just slightly taller than the wave so that they would fit through that opening. We're only going to die cut the second and the third panel. And so I'm trying to keep this as close to the bottom as I can without compromising the integrity of the card, and just centering that in the middle of that panel. I ran that through. Now to figure out this next one, just fold the card in half and then pencil in where that opening is, and then you can put the die onto that opening on the other side, and you'll have them evenly spaced and lined up. Now I did accordion fold these, the base panels here, so valley fold, mountain fold, valley fold. I forgot to include that in the video, but that's all I did there. And then you can see we're going to weave this ocean section through that middle opening, and it will attach at the left and the right. And that's how we'll get that double accordion look out of it. So I need to now position my island here. I didn't want to drown the otters, so I had to move that island section up a little bit. And to do that, I ended up having to cut the trees off because you can see they're going way up and above. So I'm just removing the trees here, and I'll position this island piece. I'm trying to keep that ocean section lined up with the bottom of the die cut opening to the right there, because that's where it will end up when I glue this down. So I'm just moving my island up a little bit so it's, you know, the waves are not going to drown my otters. And then I can just use some low-tack tape to tape that down. And then I'm going to glue the bottom of these trees and put them back in behind the island. And you'll see now, I had to move these down quite a ways actually. The one on the right is too tall, so I had to sort of rotate these down a little bit. And in doing so, the trunk of that tree sort of stuck out the bottom. So all I did is I flipped this over, trimmed off the trunk of the tree, and then I'm going to put glue all over the back of these, the trees and the island, and because it's still tacked in place with that low-tack tape, I can just flip it up and over and it will be in the right spot. And I'm just making sure the left and the right sides now are lined up with that white panel. Then I'll remove that low-tack tape. And I've inked up those two little otters now, and I'm just holding my ocean where it's going to end up going, and I can just position these little guys so that they're above the water line now. Just paddling in the shallow waves. So once they're in, I did the same thing now at this other end. Now I cut one of those trees off and just moved it into the middle between the two big ones just to make a bit of variation. And I've inked up my whale now, and again I'm just gently laying him down because I wanted to make sure he was above the water. So I'm just positioning the wave again where it's going to end up, and then repositioning that whale. So once I was happy with that, I just pressed him down in place. And now these little otters, now don't laugh too hard, that's my rock. I'm terrible at drawing. But they just needed something to sit on, and so I ended up creating that, and they can sit on top of that. Now, you're not even going to notice this rock. Honestly, it's in the water. It's below the water level. But I knew I needed to crease the fold on the left side because it was going to meet up where the, the join was, or the seam. And so as I'm doing this, I realized that the right side extends past the other one, so I just cut this rock, and luckily it was just a paper rock, so not too much work. So once I was sure that was going to fit, then I just put some red line tape now on the bottom and the left-hand side of that, and I've removed the release paper on the left-hand little flap. And I'm lining up these otters. I just wanted them to be above the water again. And so once I had that, I could just press that ocean onto the double-sided tape. And then I can remove the release paper on the front and again attach those to that section there. And then this little otter, who might be my favorite, I'm doing the same with him. Just a little piece of red line tape on the bottom, and he will go on this second fold. The third and the fourth folds are in the middle, and they're hidden behind the openings on the card. So I don't usually decorate those. You could. Now on the back, this is going to be the inked up side of the acetate. I'm going to put some red line tape along the bottom and the sides. Now you're going to see this is kind of a mistake, I think. I think if you had a nice sheet of double-sided adhesive, that would be much better, because my tape ends up showing. And even though I burnished it, I couldn't get rid of it. But I'm lining up the bottom edge with the die cut opening on the right, and I'm lining that fold line up with the white matte layer, and then I can just press that in place. And so you can see right there, you can see that tape. So I do think, a whole sheet of adhesive would be better than the tape. Glue might even be better, quite honestly. But now I'm just reinforcing those folds, and I can line all this up again. So just stacking up the acetate and making sure that the bottom edge lines up with the die cut opening, and I'll remove the release paper on the last section, and I'm going to make sure that that bottom edge lines up there with the die cut opening, and that this now meets that white matted border. So just sliding it over, trying to keep that bottom edge nice and straight, and then I can just push that glue or that adhesive tape down. That red line tape is super sticky, so once you stick it there, you're stuck. And then I burnished that again, just trying to make that disappear. It really was quite a mess, that tape. So I've just added in that slimline, that's the slimline bunting border die cut up at the top there, and that sentiment I created on the computer myself, and just printed that off. Now here I've taken a sentiment from the Jungle Birthday stamp set to put on the front, and this is the card. I've taken that whale, the whale's from the Whale of a Time, but you can see those little otters, they're just so darn cute. I mean, how can you not make more than one card with those guys? And on the back, there's lots of room to write a message. It stands up beautifully. It's just quite a fun card design, I think. It's quite a big one. You're going to do this for somebody special, I think, or maybe a child's, or a child at heart. But there you have it. So definitely a bouncy little card, and you definitely are going to want to make a belly band for it. So that's the one that I made. So I hope I've given you some inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I hope you're having a great day. I'll talk to you next time.